So good evening to everyone for joining in this week's Mentorship Live session. And this happens to be the 23rd of May 2019, which goes down in history as an eventful day as long as Indian politics is concerned, as far as Indian politics is concerned. Um, we seem to have a pretty stable government coming up for the next 5 years. I'm hopeful um, that the next 5 years is going to be um, a very landmark 5 years for the Indian economy. Uh, because if that happens, then it paves way for the next 25 years. And if the ruling political party fails, then we as the citizens go back to the doubt whom to vote and why to vote. So hope for the best, be as optimistic as possible. And now let's look at how did the market react. So I would say it was not as dramatic as we all expected or anticipated for the election day. To a lot of extent, I believe that the gap up that we saw on the 20th of May had discounted that fact. So the exit polls and the actual results which came out together did manage to give the market a good bounce back, and the bounce back led to a new life high. The psychological 12K mark and the 40K mark on the Sensex was tested. But we need to understand that the market has gone up in 6 days significantly from lows of 11,100 to highs of 12,000. So we're looking close to 900 points rally in 6 days. But obviously in 6 days, nothing fundamentally or in terms of earnings do not change. I'm talking about the fundamentals do not change of a company, right? So it is essentially sentiment driven, emotion driven. So of course, we were looking to see some amount of profit taking from the short term traders for sure. And it did come, and it was quite sharp. It was fairly sharp, ending negative. On the daily chart, we are back to an uptrend with rising momentum. It's a very nice, it's a very nascent uptrend, and we've got a big range expansion both in the Nifty and the Bank Nifty. If you see over here, we have this rising gap which came on the exit poll day, and this is fairly wide, 11,600 on the upside and 11,450 on the downside. So immediate support you can expect technically coming in from this big gap up. But how far can this fall extend if it extends further on the downside? So as I move to TF-1, or shall I call it the 75-minute chart, I see an uptrend with a little deteriorating momentum, and there is a bit of hidden divergences shaping up, range expansion, not extremely bearish, neither extremely bullish, but I sense that this 11,600 and 500, this zone can give us good support from the short term. Coming further down, you can see at the 15-minute charts as it approaches this gap up zone, indicators are deeply oversold. And if you wish to go short in the market, go short on a rise. If you want to go long, wait for a hook setup, which we call as a contrarian trade. That will help us to go long or swing short from an intraday perspective. Net, I would say before I go to Bank Nifty, that the trend has moved up. The momentum is positive. Long-term charts have hit, are actually shaped up really well, and we have hit a new life high. So let's not be overly bearish right now. Bank Nifty had a stellar of a move, a new life high, and then slipped significantly. The fact that the daily charts, or I guess the weekly charts, have no as such um, significant divergences, that I'm not extremely bearish on the market right now. So the bullish sentiment continues. This is also in an uptrend with rising momentum. Um, Indicators will slip down a bit if the market comes down. Over here, we've got a gap up close to that psychological 30K mark. That's where your supports kick in. So let's stay positive on the overall market. That is the indices. The sectors uh, have been led by the PSU banks. State Bank of India plays a very big role here. Real estate stocks and infrastructure stocks, typical election day movement. On the downside, IT continues to drag further down. FMCG gave a sharp sell-off in today's trade, and a bit of media and metal, which were marginally positive. Overall, the health of the market is not that great because it's essentially led by the large caps. Index is outperforming. I guess that if the market slows down now, the IT can start and give some support coming from stocks like Infosys, which has been in a downtrend and closing in near its supports from the gap up. You can find TCS, which is also in a downtrend and near its gap up, which is close to the supports. You can look at Tech Mahindra, which is in a strong downtrend, and it has closed its gap down, its gap up. So the supports from the gap are broken. We've got a nice double top shaping up on the weekly chart. So Tech Mahindra does not look that good. So some amount of bounce back can come from these IT stocks from a short-term perspective, nothing much. But overall, I guess it's the banking stocks which will continue to see the movement. If I quickly open the banking universe, let's say the bank nifty stocks, the 12 stocks which make up the bank nifty, Bank of Baroda, stellar of a move, big move, but it's definitely going to slow down. It's not known to move so well, so it will consolidate for sure. Federal Bank, nothing much in it. HDFC Bank, the biggest weightage in the bank nifty has come off. ICICI Bank, I continue to hold on my view that this stock is exceptionally well placed from a long-term perspective. Kotak Bank is still in an amazing uptrend. PNB is buying its time, but it's important thing to look at is State Bank of India. State Bank of India goes above the 350 mark, slips a little below that. Weekly, we've got a breakout. If you look at a monthly chart, the stock is at its life high, and this is the kind of breakout, if the stock gives this size of a breakout, if we get, then don't be too surprised to see the stock doubling itself in not much time. Whenever a stock, especially heavyweight from a particular sector, gives multi-year breakouts like this, and if it holds, the last time it gave was in October 2017, it slipped, and this time we have given a breakout, it's holding well. So all that we need to see is the stock staying above that 350 mark, close to 360, further 400. You won't be surprised to see what kind of upsides open up for a breakout like this. So if you have to play the banking space, the PSU, I would always suggest go for SBI. Do not look at the others. It's not worth it. And amongst the private sector banks, is obviously a good pick would be HDFC Bank and Kotak Bank. All right. So there we go for the index and the sectors. Let's talk about our trades. How did we do this week? I'll request you to start pouring in the questions. I'll take up one by one. Let's discuss all the stocks.